Okay. Very good. Anyway, with that, with hearing that it's 7 o'clock, I would like to call this meeting of the town board of the town of Northeast to order. It is Thursday, September 8th, 2022 at 7 o'clock. I'd like to ask you to join me in the pledge of allegiance to the flag. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Could you please conduct a roll call?
Supervisor Cannon,
Here.
Councilwoman Morrison,
Here.
Councilman Fidel,
Here.
Councilman Midwood,
Here.
Councilman Cooper.
Thank you. I would like to amend the agenda to insert an additional item, which has to do with the water district. And we will be asking the board to approve setting a public hearing for our October meeting. And when we get to it, I'll ask Warren to give just a very brief introduction of this. It has to do with the village wanting to invest in updating, repairing, and so on, the water system. With that intended amendment, I want to also just mention that the board held an attorney-client meeting with Warren just before our meeting to review 2 potential legal actions against the town. And we will be scheduling an executive session as part of our board meeting, at the end of the board meeting, to review the tax cert issue with the assessor. With that, I would like to invite a motion to accept the amended agenda.
So moved.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you. We have a public hearing at 7:20, so if I don't have my watch on, if somebody can let me know when we're a few minutes away, that'd be great. As always, I have always made a comment about Dutchess County's COVID-19 numbers. We hear less and less about that these days. They are very stable at the moment at the level that they've been at for quite a few months. But we have, as we've said before, we think it's important for people to use the information that they've gotten and their good common sense to protect themselves and others from something that can be very dangerous. We at the town are beginning to work on our budget for 2023. The budget committee, which is Lana Morrison and myself, has started to work to look at the budget. It's going to be a very challenging year to budget for. The most recent inflation factors that we were given by the state of New York to work with is 7%, and the tax cap is 2%. So I think that shows people what the budget committee has in front of it. Highway garage, we are making progress, and we have started to pour concrete for the building, which people can see as they drive by it. We have also finished the realignment of the stream. This was part of the original plan for the highway garage site. The stream took a sort of it had an elbow into the site, and that with the appropriate approvals from the state, we have realigned the stream, and that work was done last month by the highway garage, by the highway crew, And I would just like to make note of that because they did a very good job. It was really well done. The town board just came up to the highway garage this afternoon, right before the meeting, to see it. And we've had a rain event since then, and I went up and saw it during the rain event, and it was working beautifully. Just a low stream, working very well. Anyway, we appreciate what the highway crew was able to do on that. Bulk Trash Day is this Saturday down at the old highway garage on South Center Street. It will be from 9 till 12 in the morning. Residents of the town are invited to bring bulk trash, and there is a notice on the website as to the hours and to what people can bring to Bulk Trash Day and what the costs are for various items or for various size vehicles that they bring. But it's a great opportunity for residents of the town to clean out their garages, clean out the yards, and have us get rid of it all. We also take advantage of electronics. We collect electronics, which did not used to be part of Bulk Trash Day, but we have a group of volunteers who regularly will now drive the electronics to the county's hazardous waste collection the following week. So it's definitely something for people to take advantage of if they have things which they need to get rid of. On Saturday, September 17th, there is going to be an event at the library annex hosted by the town. This will be a workshop on what municipalities have within their grasp to address the crisis in housing availability in the town or in other towns like us. This is the result of a mini grant which the town applied for and got from the Foundation for Community Health that was administered by Hudson River Housing. And the town applied for a grant to do work on what specifically we as municipal officials have within our own grasp, our own abilities in terms of creating or incentivizing the creation of affordable and workforce housing. It's a real crisis, not just here, but in towns across the county and in counties across the country. And there are limits to what a town, a rural town, 3,000 people is able to do. But I think it's important that we actually know what we can do and what we can't do. So we're having this event, which we've been helped in this work by Nan Stolzenberg, who worked with the town on its master plan, comprehensive plan, and we're going to be presenting, I think, a very useful document for the benefit, not only of municipal officials here, but also in Amenia, Stanford, Pine Plains, and for the village of Milton. That is going to be from 9 to 11 at the library annex on Saturday, September 17th. I will be writing more about it and hope to get out a supervisor email with regards to that. How much more time do we have?
7:08, 7:09.
Oh, we're in good shape. The town has received over quite a period of time, but certainly a lot over the past year, complaints from residents about the noise coming from the gun club. This is something which I think people who live here and who've been around the town are well aware of. We have a gun club which has been there for a very, very long time. It has a long history in the town, and generations of residents of the town and village have been members and have used it for sighting in deer guns and so on. The concern that has been expressed is that the use of the gun club has changed. The number of members the frequency of shooting and in particular the size caliber of firearms that are being shot there has made it a much more noticeable presence. Because the gun club preceded zoning, the town is very limited in what it can do, but it is my intention to reach out to the gun club to discuss with them some limitation on their hours of operation to make the noise coming from the gun club somewhat more tolerable. The municipal park, Eddie Collins Park, is being, as everybody knows, is being rebuilt. This is a really great project, which I'm so excited about it because this is a real resource for the community, not just the village, not just the town, but really for our greater community. It has been under renovation, rebuilding for the last year. And on October 1, there's going to be an opening of a grand reopening of the park. And I know there's going to be there's a lot of information about that. There will be information on our website. There's certainly, I think they have a Facebook page. That information is available there. I've had, as I've mentioned before, we've talked about the landfill, which the town owns, and that we've been approached by at least one solar developer who would like to explore the potential of the landfill site for solar collectors. We have made a visit to the landfill with that developer, who was actually a broker for developers. We just recently, and in essence, if we were to permit solar collectors on the landfill, that is something which the town would permit. We would have nothing to do with the operation of it or the maintenance of it, and the town would receive economic benefit from that every year for the duration of the contract. I just heard back from the company that would like to do this, that as a result of federal legislation, which was just passed and signed into law, there are significant incentives for fossil-free energy development. And as a result of that, they would be prepared to offer the town 50% more in revenues than their previous communication. So I was passing that along. We're gonna look into it. Not rushing into anything, but I thought that was of interest. We here at the town sometimes have pop-up vendors or stores that come. They generally would come and apply for, if they're on the side of the road somewhere, for a peddler's permit, what's called a peddler's permit. This town does not actually have peddler's permits, but I have asked Warren to look into an appropriate peddler's permit for the town. So we will look forward to getting something back from him. But it's something that we should have. How are we on time?
7:14.
No, we still got. I mentioned to the board that Habitat for Humanity has approached the town about its half-acre empty lot on Red Pond Road. We have not received anything formally in the way of a proposal from them. I would like to get from them exactly in writing what they are proposing to do. I think that having discussed it with the board, we're certainly open to the idea of if they feel that that site is large enough to permit a dwelling to be built there. It would Right now, we get no tax benefit from it, it just sits on, it's our property and it sits on the rolls. It would be a taxable property if we were to do this with Habitat for Humanity. And that's something that I think makes it particularly interesting. Is there any public comment on agenda items only? Hearing none, there is none. Okay. The item which, I think we have time just to do this thing with the water district before we have a public hearing on the tax cap. Warren, I know that you received materials from the attorney to the village. The Village of Millerton is proposing to have the water lines, which water lines, as we know, extend into the town's water district, replaced or repaired. And this is a major undertaking for which they are going to be looking for grant money. In order for that to move forward, correct me if I'm misstating this, the town needs to be in agreement with that and needs to hold a public hearing on the plan of the village to renovate its water lines. Is that in reasonable summation?
That's correct. We do have to, the water district is located in the village, and we're essentially like akin to an out-of-district user. We have a intermunicipal agreement with the village. So we have residents in the town who are part of the Millerton Water District. And they are proposing some very significant repairs and improvements at a cost not to exceed $6 million. That would be financed by pursuant to local finance law by the village, not the town. It would be also financed, hopefully, by a water infrastructure improvement grant, which the village would be applying for. I'm assuming we would be part of that application. And we have an intermunicipal agreement in place going back to 2021 with regard to that. So our obligation at this point is simply to conduct a public hearing. This is requested by the attorney for the village who's handling this project. I have the resolution prepared, basically calling for the public hearing. I set it down for October 13th at 7:15 p.m. And I sent a copy of that to the village attorney. I haven't heard from him. I assume that's acceptable to them.
It's acceptable from my perspective, and I'm hoping that we would, the board could approve calling for a public hearing on October 13th.
Yes, I'll be in contact with them because I'm assuming they probably will want to come to the public hearing and do it.
Yes, I actually spoke with the mayor, talked to Mayor Nyjak about it, and she indicated that she would plan to come to our town board meeting on October 13th to review their plans.
Great. So I apologize to our town clerk. Your name was put in as Tilly. I hope that it's such a great name. But if you want to change that to
formalize it.
If you want to change it to Elizabeth, that's fine. Otherwise, it seems to be in order, so you could vote on the resolution.
Okay.
Everybody has a copy of it.
Everybody was sent a copy of the resolution. The resolution basically calls for a public hearing on this project, which we will learn more about at that time. I think I'm going to waive the reading of the resolution, since that's the purpose of the resolution. But I would entertain a motion to accept the resolution.
So moved. Second.
Would you conduct a roll call? on the resolution?
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Here,
yes, Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilman Cooper.
Okay, that motion is approved, and I think we're at 7:20. So the next item on the agenda is a public hearing on local law number 2 of 2022, permitting the town to exceed the New York State tax cap. I've already mentioned to the board the challenge that the budget committee will have. But we have voted to exceed the tax cap for as many years as I've been on the board. And we do that not knowing whether we're going to need to exceed the tax cap or not, but in order to have that flexibility. If we do not do that, we then cannot exceed the tax cap down the road when we actually come to a budget. So, as we have in past years, we are going to have a public hearing on this local law. And I would like to ask for a motion to open the public hearing.
so moved.
Second.
Roll call.
Sure.
Actually, I think a motion to open the public hearing is probably adequate. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, could I have a motion?
Yeah.
We had a motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The public hearing is now open on the resolution. Does anybody wish to speak on this resolution? If nobody does, I would like to ask for a motion to close the public hearing.
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the motion is carried. And the next item on the agenda is resolution to approve local law number 2. And I think that one, could you read that one?
Resolution adopting a local law to override the tax levy limit for fiscal year 2023 pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 3 CAS, local law number 2 of the year 2022. Whereas the town board determined that it may be necessary for the town of Northeast to exceed the limit on the amount of real property taxes that may be levied by the town of Northeast pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 3C for fiscal year 2023. And whereas the town board by resolution dated August 11th, 2022 accepted a proposed local law to override the tax levy limits for fiscal year 2023 pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 3C for commencement of the local law adoption process. And whereas the town board scheduled and duly noticed a public hearing on said local law to be held on September 8th, 2022 at the town of Northeast Town Hall. And whereas the town board opened the public hearing and heard comments on said local law and closed the public hearing on September 8th, 2022. And whereas the town board has determined that this action is a type 2 action under secret and does not require environmental reviews. And whereas the town board has determined that it is in the best interest of the town of Northeast to adopt this local law. Now therefore, be it resolved that the town board hereby adopts local law number 2 of 2022 entitled a local law to override the tax levy limit from fiscal year 2023 pursuant to General Municipal Law, Section 3C, and it is further resolved that the town clerk is hereby directed to file said local law in the office of the Department of State as required by law.
Thank you very much. Could I, unless there's any further discussion about this, could I have a motion to approve resolution?
So moved.
Second.
Could I have roll call, please?
Supervisor Cannon,
Aye.
Councilman Fidelli,
Aye.
Councilman Cooper,
Aye.
Councilman Midwood,
Aye.
Councilwoman Morrison.
Aye.
Okay, thank you very much. With that, Warren, I think we're all done. There's no other legal matter which you have to discuss with the board at this time?
No.
Okay,
You know where to find me if you
we
need.
know where to find you, and
Thank you for your
Thank you.
courtesy. I
we
Thank
need to
appreciate
have a
it.
little bit of daylight to get back going.
Yes, yes,
Not
yes.
much, but look out for the deer.
It's a tough ride in the dark.
Yeah, yeah.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Okay, thank you, Warren. Okay, moving right along. The town has, is there anything that I've, oh, see, I knew there was something small. Bob, do you have a highway department report?
So it's time to advertise for sealed bids for 2023 for highway supplies, sand, gravel, blacktop fuel, and other highway supplies. Would the board like to authorize me to do so?
I am sure that the board would like to authorize you to do that. Could I have a motion to authorize the highway superintendent to solicit bids for those materials?
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
The first section of Skunks Missouri Road has been reclaimed and paved, very nice.
It looks
You
great.
like it, yeah? Later in October, we will be putting on gravel shoulders to finish it off. And we're also working on section 2 that will be done next year. We're getting the drainage ready now.
Mhm. So is the section which, I haven't been up to see it yet, is the section which has been done that closest to McGee Hill?
No, we started at the town of Pine Plains line.
Okay,
And went towards McGee Hill,
okay,
half mile.
yep,
So we have another 3/4 of a mile to do next year.
all right. And for the feathering the edges, does that require special equipment?
Yes, it requires special equipment. We work to, the highway crew and the contractor work together on that. They have to bring the road wider with an operator, and we haul the gravel in, dump it into the machine. It does a nice job,
Okay,
and it gets compacted.
so it makes a real difference because when the roads get repaved, there can be a lip or a drop off because of the additional height of the asphalt.
Can be significant
Yeah,
sometimes.
and if somebody caught their tire on the edge, it could have an adverse impact.
We have warning signs up now, but we'll take those down once the shoulder's gone.
Okay, good. When do we start getting sand and gravel into our,
The beginning of October, I'll place the order.
okay? As we've discussed, the site at the moment, which, where there's a lot of work going on, the driveway or the road coming in is narrower than it used to be. And I know that that's something you've raised with the contractors to make sure that that is ameliorated by the time October 1 comes around.
Yes.
So we'll look forward to I'll look forward to hearing from you when that is done.
So
Hopefully we'll be able to report at the next board meeting. Yeah. And how about the surplus equipment?
Yes, we have a 1995 International plow truck that is surplus now. And if it's okay with the board, I'd like to advertise on Auctions International for sale. We've had very good luck with them in the past.
Okay. Bob, could you just remind us what you paid for that truck?
$5,000.
What do you think you're gonna get for the truck?
Let's see, I'm hoping for 10 plus.
Well, this is called arbitrage, but anyway. It is as you said, it's a very, very old truck. We've obviously had to put money into it. But this has been it was a great buy for the town, when you bought it.
Certainly was.
And we have a new truck that we'll be riding soon.
First,
And with that arrival, it does become surplus. So I would like to ask the board for a motion to advertise the old truck for sale.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. You'll list that on.
Auctions International.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor, no opposed. Is that it?
That's all I have.
Cover everything?
Yeah.
Okay. Great. Again, it was good to go up and see the progress that's been made, and particularly the work that you all did on the stream. It's
Yes.
great. Looks really good.
They did a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Assessor.
So I don't have too much, everything's been going very smoothly. No big issues with the roll after we closed it, and since the school bills have gone out, my phone has not been ringing off the hook. Just good news. The residents in the Pine Plains and Tacona school districts actually saw decreases in their taxes from last year, from all the work that all the towns have been doing in this market. Except for Weebatuck. Weebatuck had some increases, about 5% increase in their taxes. That's completely due to the fact that they had a approved budget last year that was 5% higher than the previous year. So they had nothing to do with it. But it just goes to show that, everyone raised assessments at the same level. And as I keep saying, everybody's on the same playing field. We're all in the same boat, and that has panned out. So just want to report that. It's pretty good news. The only other thing I want to just talk about is about a tax exemption that we have in our town and changes in the law that were just announced by the state legislature and the governor signed last month. It's our low-income senior exemption. And the way it works is, of course, we want to keep our low-income seniors in their homes. And so this exemption was put in place years ago to reduce the property taxes on those in the lowest income bracket. Currently, the exemption can go up to relieves taxes up to 50% of the tax. So that's pretty darn significant. And the level at which it needs to be at is lower than 29,000 in household income. So we are, we're looking at lowest income here, even here. And so you see in the chart, the way it works as the income increases, the exemption decreases until you get to about 37,400, and then there's no more senior exemption. There is still the enhanced star exemption, which many people are familiar with, that has a much higher income level. So pretty much any senior is able to get into that program that has about over 90,000 income level. So they are able to get that on their school taxes. This is just for really, really low income, goes across the board on their town taxes, village taxes, school taxes, county taxes. So it really does alleviate the big burden. So what the state has done is it's been over 10 years since they have made any movement. And so they finally have brought this, and the legislature brought it up, and they have increased that $29,000 level to anywhere up to 50,000. So they made a big leap this year, probably trying to make up for lost time. And of course, as the state, they have to think about the state as a whole. High income areas, low income areas are all grouped together, and they just pick a number. So what it boils down to is that the municipalities have to decide what level is right for them in our area. Obviously, anyone would say you can make $50,000, you're probably not really low income. It's more than I make. So that's probably not right for us. So I tried to figure out some ways to look at how to propose the right increase. Again, it has been over 10 years, so it's probably time for a change. If you've been stuck at the same level, but your income has slightly increased every year, as Social Security goes up, you have been, climbing the brackets, and your exemption is going lower and lower, as you see on the chart. So it's probably time we do something, but what is it that we do? So my fellow colleagues have gone over a few things. We came up with 2 solutions on how to make some kind of estimate. The first is that we decided to look at median household incomes in different counties around the state. If we found the highest income county was Nassau County, and we said, well, they should be at the $50,000 level, where would we fall in that scale? And so we looked at the median income of Dutchess County, and the numbers are there. We came out about 68% of Nassau County's median household income. So looking at that, if we took 68% of the $50,000 limit, we would be about 34,000 should be our number, rather than 29. So it's about an increase of 5,000. Another way that I was able to look at it is I went back, since most of these low-income seniors are on Social Security, and so their income has increased based on the Social Security Administration's cost of living increases every year. So I went back 10 years and saw, okay, what were those increases over those 10 years? And I added them up, and they were at 18.8% over the last 10 years. So adding that to our current 29,000 brought us to about 34,500. So I think both of those leading to the same, about the same area, I think that pins us in a good spot. So I prepared a chart on the next page that shows you what the new income levels could be if we chose 34,000 as our starting point. Again, this is something that we could discuss more, come up with different ways to look at it, throw some things out, just a proposal I put up so you have something to match it up to. I wanted to go back and see, well, how many people would this actually benefit? Because as the senior exemption goes, every year, as income changes, the seniors are required to apply to me every year and show me that their income has been the last year, so that would put them in the right bracket. Of course, if you remember, during COVID, the last 2 years, the state basically froze exemptions and said seniors don't have to come in, don't make them come out of their houses during this pandemic to have to apply. So they gave every senior that had an exemption in 2020, the same one in 21, and the same one this year in 22. So I actually haven't seen any new incomes in the last few years. So I can't really give you a perfect answer to this. What I did do is I went back and I saw there's 48 seniors currently in this program. 31 of them, so a vast majority, are already below the 29,000. So they're already at the 50% maximum exemption. They're so low income. So they wouldn't benefit. Those other 17, though, would probably go up a few brackets, because if we increased it by 5,000, they would go up 5 brackets. So if they had 25% exemption before, they'd go up to a 50% exemption. So definitely would help some people right off the bat. Whoever else is out there that would then be in that $5,000 space, if they just missed out on the exemption in the past years, they would now be in that. So there's no way to estimate that. But I'm sure there's some out there that it would actually benefit. And the other thing is that every dollar that we exempt has to be still made up by someone. So we can't just give away these exemptions. So we have to find a good way to go about it. And so hopefully you'll find that this is a good way to look at it. But again, we can discuss it more. It would need to go be done as a local law, resolution, ordinance of some sort. So we have to present and have a public hearing on. But if we can get that rolling in the next few months, that would be great. And then it would be able to be applied for this upcoming 2023 roll.
I did hear people talking about it at this week's Supervisors and Mayors Association meeting. So I know it's something that other towns have been talking about. I don't know, Lana, whether you heard from our friends down in, is it Ethan? Yeah, anyway, I think that, this is very important, I know, to a number of people in our town. And so I would like to have a chance to look at it more closely, talk with you about it, but to talk also with members of the board about it. And to then have a public discussion of this at our meeting in October.
Perfect.
At which time we could set whatever we decide, we could then set a public hearing for November and approve whatever we decide.
Okay, very good.
Catherine, is this above the senior enhanced star?
Right.
So this is in addition to
In
that?
addition to, right. This actually gets calculated first, and then the senior star comes off at the end.
Do you anticipate the income level exemption ending this year? Or no?
Sorry?
Do you anticipate the income level exemption for seniors ending this year? Or do you think they'll keep that exemption?
Oh, yeah, no, they're definitely gonna always have this exemption. It's just a matter of staying at this level or making a larger benefit.
No, for the assessment role that they did because of COVID. Do you think that?
Oh, did you think they would? Oh, gosh, well, let's see how COVID does.
Right.
By the time that rolls around, I believe last year they didn't make a decision until maybe January. I can't remember what it was, but it was, the last minute. They said, okay, forget it. Don't make seniors come in. So I see that. I'm hoping things like Chris said earlier that things in the county are looking good, so.
Yeah.
It would be a statewide decision, so we'll see how the state holds up over the next couple months.
Lastly, while we've got you, you've been talking in recent years about a revow. Is that something that you are still looking at? Can you project a year when that might be something that we'd be trying to do?
Yeah, well, this year was, close to that, because we had to look at the whole town, and
Right.
everybody had to change.
Right, and that's important for people to understand that you looked at broad categories, so
Right.
commercial, residential.
Right.
different areas.
The difference only would be is if we start to see discrepancies among categories. So like we said this year, we had 12% everybody. So a full evaluation would say, well, did that house really be 12? Was that one more 10 and this one was 14? And then now for the both at 12, are we finding some disparity? So that's definitely after, it's been count backwards, 2011, since we did the last full
So
individual
it's been
parcel
11
one.
years.
And the first chunk of years, there was not much happening in the market, just the last few years that there's been some volatility. And so I think, I would say after this crazy market starts to slow down, would like to take a look at that and do something on an individual basis to get everyone back on a level playing field. Right now, the state keeps approving us, and so they say we are there. So I'm hoping to keep that up and that 100% up, but definitely over the next few years, I'd like to monitor the market more closely. I would hope that this couldn't sustain, but our initial projections already for next year, our first conversation with the state has been a 9% increase for next year, which is overwhelming. I can't even believe it when they said that number to me, but the sales are still coming in quite high. And so we're not quite at the end of this bowl yet.
Yeah. Okay, so nothing scheduled at this point.
Nothing scheduled at this point, yes.
Okay. Great.
Thank
Anybody,
you.
any questions? Anybody on the board?
Yeah, once you review that, please feel free to get in touch with me and we'll get something going for next month.
Okay,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you very much. Tilly, you supplied the board with reports from planning, zoning, and building departments.
Thing we're missing is the animal control officer didn't get back. I don't know when that'll come. It's just that.
All right. Town board committee activity. Well, I mentioned the Eddie Collins Park, but that's not really a committee, it's just,
We have nothing else.
it is
after that.
recreation. So after that event, there will be a report, I'm sure.
And on the highway, we all just went to the site.
Yes, I think we just did the highway.
Yeah.
Cemetery. I don't know if you want to talk about it, but there was some activity there last weekend.
Yes.
It was pretty
Well,
exciting.
This was the Spencer's Corners Burying Ground. We had a group of volunteers and we went up there to clean some monuments. And we decided that, working on this Spencer's Corners Burying Ground is going to be a process that's going to take a long time. And you can't expect overnight to see some activity. But we're working on in several different areas, working on a site plan. We were working with the library on a spreadsheet. Rhiannon took all of the information that we had on 500 people who are buried in the cemetery. And we formed a spreadsheet. And this starts with 1701. That's the first gravestone that's there, all the way through. So we have a spreadsheet, and now eventually we're going to try and match the site plan to the spreadsheet and kind of come up with a plan. There's another group of people from Spencer's Corners Burying Ground that's working on registering with the National Register of Historic Places. So that's in the works. And then the cleanup day, which you came to, Chris, we were a group of volunteers with what's called D2 Biologic Cleaning Solution. And this is the solution that all of the gravestone providers use. It's a biological solution that does not damage the stones at all. You apply water, then you spray this D2 solution on the stones, and then you scrub. And we were scrubbing and cleaning. And this process takes several weeks to really work through, because over time, rainwater comes and washes away the D2 biologic solution. And what we did before we started this cleanup, we picked 5 stones, a group of 5 stones that were standing. And we took the before photograph. So we have a before, and now we've scrubbed, and we're gonna come back in a few weeks and take the after shot so we can see the difference. And as I said, this is a process. We're gonna take a small group at a time, take 5 or 6 stones that are standing. We can't do any of the remediation of turning out writing stones, because that's gonna take a lot of money, and that's in the future, okay? But what we're doing now is just to find groups of stones that are standing that we can clean and actually help us in the process of fundraising. So we'll combine the before shots, the after shots, and then go and try and get some money. There's a group also that's working on grants. So it's a process, as I say. It took years for the Spencer's Corners burying ground to be in the condition that it's in, but it looked pretty good. I mean, it was nicely mowed by the town, and it's gonna look better over time, but this is a process.
I should say, I arrived just as they were finishing cleaning the stone, so I didn't get any credit. But it was really impressive, because stones that were completely covered in
Lichen and, yeah,
lichen, moss, or
exactly.
whatever, some kind of algae or, something, were, you couldn't read anything. Suddenly, there it is, there's the letters, there's the names.
And the process that we use does not damage the stones.
Yeah.
Some cleaners in other cemeteries use bleach and
Which is
scrubbing.
very
and
damaging to the stone.
It does work against the stone. It does erode them. So we're doing this the correct way, but it's gonna take some time.
Well,
So
it
we're
was-
working on it.
It was very exciting to see, the role of this cemetery in this town cannot be, overstated.
Now, I would like to say the Spencer's Corners Burying Ground is a not-for-profit 501c3, so that all of the work that we're doing is volunteer work and does not affect town taxpayers. This is private money and private work. But we're working with the town. I mean, I'm on a dual role kind of, because I'm here and I'm also a member of Spencer's Corners Burying Ground.
And it is an abandoned cemetery, which means that the town actually has, I'm not gonna say ownership, but
In
responsibility
interest, yeah,
for
right.
it, and the legal responsibility is to mow it.
Right.
But it is wonderful that a group has been formed to try and restore it to some degree, certainly to be able to read the monuments that are there. And, if there was ever a rainfall of money, to actually write some of the stones. But they're, as you said, people have no idea. I mean, you drive by and think there's 20 or 30 graves up there. It's 500.
500.
Yeah, anyway.
A lot of them, or most of them are down.
Yeah. And I know, I'm sure everybody here knows this, but I only learned this after I joined the town board, that is the original site of this community, started at Spencer's Corner, not here. So it's really fundamental. Anyway, thank you, Ralph, and please thank the committee. Okay, I think we've now done those reports. He's not here, but I did receive a report from the Milton Police Department for the month of August, and that will be, so I'll be sending that along to every board member. I've also sent it to Tilly so that she can post it on the website. Okay, now we can move along. Should note that I'm putting this agenda together, got worked around a little bit, so the numbering is very suspect. But number 8, we have had a contract with Northeast Community Center for many years, supporting the work that they do. I think that the work that they do is really critical to our community. We're so lucky to have a Northeast Community Center in our midst. A town like this will never be able to have a Department of Social Services or anything like that. NECC has really filled that role in a big way. We have had a contract with NECC for many years. We have provided them with $5,500 that a year. That number has been unchanged for over 10 years. And I would like to ask the board to approve renewal of the NECC contract at that level. Could I have a motion to approve the NECC contract?
So moved.
Any further conversation about that or comments about that? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion is carried. We have also had a contract with the Weepatuck Valley Youth Soccer League for many years. And I think the number right now is actually 15 years. And we provided them with $750 a year for that long. And they've asked for renewal of that contract. And I would like to entertain a motion to approve the Weepatuck Valley Youth Soccer League contract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Okay, that was 8 and 9. Now suddenly we jump to 12. Obviously, I can't count. Number 12 is the acceptance of the Water District Benefit Assessment Role and setting a date for a public hearing. Catherine, can you give us the Cliff's Notes version of what the Water District Assessment Role is?
Water district assessment role is basically, as we were talking before about, the village has the water district as part of their village, and then some of the lines extended to the town. And so years ago, as Warren said, we made it an intermunicipal agreement where the lines that ran to the town, we would help pay for those lines. And so this role is basically charges everybody that's on the line, whether or not they use the line, a certain amount, rather than not they use the water, they might have their own well, but they have access to the line, so they charge a certain amount every year in order to pay for that work that was done years ago. So right now, a single family residence charged 100 units. If you don't use the water, but you have access to the water, you're only charged 50 units. Commercials are at 200 units plus, depending on the size and things like that. So this role just lists all the properties that are benefited. That's why it's called a benefit role, benefited by being in the water district. And it lists the amount of units that each one is charged. Every year we take a look at it, see if any changes need to be made, if a new house is built, change their units. If a single family becomes a 2-family, which we have one this year, we had to increase it from 100 to 200 units. So that's just annually, we have to take a look at it and present it. So we have 2 changes this year. Like I said, one, a single family was changed to a 2-family, so it's increasing its units, and a 2-family went to a single family, so we're decreasing its units. So that's all the big changes this year. Everyone else stays the same as they have been.
So what we are asked to do is to accept the Water District Benefit Assessment Role and to set a date for a public hearing on that for October 13th. And we will have then 3 public hearings.
Uh-oh.
The first one, which Warren spoke about, and that was for 7:15.
7:20.
Second one will be at 7:20, so let's say we'll set one for 7:25.
Okay.
So with that, could I have a motion to accept the Water District Benefit Assessment Roll and set the date of the public hearing for October 15th?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay,
See you
opposed?
then.
Thank you for that summary of that. There is there's a term is expiring on the Board of Assessment Review.
Yeah.
Yeah, you again.
Okay, so yeah, so we have a 5-member board and each person's term is 5 years. And so every year it's staggered, so every year one term is up. You know, our preference is, you know, when things are going smoothly, to ask the person to stay on. And this year Daniel Briggs is the one that is term expiring, and he has agreed to stay on if you'll have him.
This is a town board appointment.
Yes.
But we have not had any expressions of interest from anybody else seeking that position. And I think that Dan Briggs brings useful perspective and experience
Yes.
to the Board of Assessment Review. So I would entertain a motion to reappoint Dan Briggs to the Board of Assessment Review.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Number 14 is public comment period. Is there public comment on anything? Bill?
Yeah, because I warned you this morning. So I had the opportunity, as all of you did, to attend the presentation by the Climate Smart Committee. And their information was great, and very excited to hear about it. There are a few things I don't really understand about the process, and I have some comments about it. The most interesting thing for me, and probably, you know, all of you caught this as well, is that the landfill is somewhere between 10 and 100 times more greenhouse gas emissions than anything else that we could possibly be addressing as a town. And all, you know, the way it works out in the plan that was presented is that would be one of the last things to be addressed. And, you know, that I don't think makes sense. So I guess that the first thing I'll ask is a question. Does the town accept that that plan? Is there a point at which the town will ask, you know, at this level, ask for a motion to accept that plan? And if so, does that bind the town to doing things in the exact order that the committee suggested?
I'm not sure the exact answer to your question, your first question, of whether that the town is expected to vote on climate action plan. The plan as presented is a draft climate action plan. I am expecting the plan to come back to the board. I don't know whether we vote on to accept it formally, but I would assume that we would. And since that meeting in the library annex, the Climate Smart Committee has met with its consultant again and moved that item, which is the bio treatment of methane coming out of the landfill from the longest 5 to 10 year period right up to the first, which is this next coming year.
I did some reading about that bioremediation. I would be really interested in talking with somebody who has some experience with it. The materials that I found online, doing some basic searching were, mostly academic papers. So it's not clear to me if this has been implemented anywhere yet, but, I think that this is the lowest hanging fruit and the biggest bang for any buck. So I definitely hope that there'll continue to be discussion about this, and I'd love to hear a board level discussion at some point about these different options.
I think we would like to have one, and one of the things that did occur to me today when I got this word that the group that is interested in helping us with solar collectors, that the amount of money that the town could collect from that was being proposed to be increased by 50%. First of all, that tells me that that number could be bigger. And second of all, it tells me that the revenues that we might derive from that could be applied to mitigating the methane.
Yeah.
Directly. So there could be a direct benefit from this.
Thank you.
Public comment? Okay. Then we go to 15, supervisors report. The first item here is we have a budget adjustment, number 6 for the year. In A fund, expense increase of $1,000 minus an expense decrease of $1,000 for a net of 0. And then we have a budget adjustment in the DB fund for the highway town outside. An expense increase of $45,360 less an expense decrease of $45,360. Can I have a motion to approve the budget adjustment number 6?
So moved.
Second.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. I have a special abstract dated August 19th, 2022, totaling $866,050.16, broken down as follows. A fund, $52,083.16. Capital projects, H1, $813,967. Can I have a motion to accept the special abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion's carried. I have a special abstract dated August 29th, 2022, totaling $407.95, broken down as follows. A fund, $407.95. I have a motion to accept the special abstract.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I have an abstract dated September 8th, 2022, totaling $515,360.33, broken down as follows. A fund, $45,710.57. B fund, $513.25. DB fund, $150,487.78. Capital projects H1, $311,386.37. ARPA, $3,136. T&A2 escrow, $3,877.77. Payroll, T&A, $248.59. Could I have a motion to accept the abstract?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's carried. now. Voucher committee for October. Voucher committee for October would be. What?
These two. Should we make?
Lana and John.
Yeah, okay. It says September, but it should say October. Very good. We had minutes of the meeting of July 14th, 2022, which have been presented to us by the clerk, and we've all had a chance to review the minutes. I have a motion to approve the minutes of July 14th.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. Ready to be posted. Okay. With that, I think the next item is we're going to have an executive session with the assessor. So we will, that has to be held within the regular town board meeting. So the next item would be to excuse everybody else and to have a motion to go into executive session with the assessor. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
So more. Second.
Who made the motion?
John.
Okay. And I will keep track of, somebody will keep track of who makes the motion to come out of the executive session. They're all signed, right? You got
Yes,
everybody's
so-
signatures on all of them?
You're going to get some.
Yeah. Okay. Are you gonna be here? No, I know sometimes you're waiting. For a ride home. No. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a nice day.
Thank you, Joey.
Turn the video off.
Turn the, you can stop the recording.
Yeah.